it's Rachel, here with my series on what young drivers should do after they've been involved in a car accident, because it's not a matter of if, but when. Today, I'm interviewing Mr. Bob Chandler from North Atlanta Insurance for advice from an insurance agent. So my first question is if there are any differences between if I cause the accident or if someone else causes the accident.
Yeah, if you cause the accident, it means that you're liable for their property damage, the damage to their car, and if they're injured, you're liable for their bodily injury. And so a lot of times when people are involved in an accident, one of the two drivers will say, "Oh no, let's not call the police, let's just exchange information." And we don't recommend that at all. We recommend you call the police every time. And the reason why we say that is because when a police officer first arrives on the scene, the first thing they're going to ask, does anyone need medical attention? And they make a note of that in the police report that all parties or both parties refuse medical attention. And so it's good before the police get there to exchange insurance information. So let's say that you hit someone in the rear end. It would be okay for you to let them take a picture of your insurance ID card, but you don't want to admit guilt. So nonetheless, there's a difference, right? You hit somebody, you're liable for their property damage and their bodily injury. And if someone hits you, they're responsible for the damage done to your car, also known as property damage. And if you're injured, they're responsible for your bodily injury. So kind of works the same, but there's one person that's liable and there's another person that's kind of a victim.
So I know you mentioned like the health aspect and like EMTs at the accident scene. So should you always get checked?
Yeah, it varies from person to person and situation to situation. Let's say that you have someone that's young, like you're leaving school one day and you have a student to hit you in the rear end and you have no prior health conditions, okay? It would be normal for your neck maybe to be a little bit stiff or sore, or for your back to be a little bit stiff or sore the next day. But let's say that somebody is older, whether they're in their 40s or 50s, whatever, they have a history of neck or back problems, then you have to look at them a little bit closer. Or if it's an elderly person, let's say that's in their 70s or 80s, they're going to need a little bit closer look as well. And again, the police officers, they're very alert to injuries in an accident scene because they know many times people can kind of get a concussion and get their bell rung and they're not really thinking straight and they don't know that they're hurt. It's very common for someone not to know they're hurt and then leave the scene, go home, and then that night they feel like a train has ran them over. So I'm going to say you don't have to go, or you don't even need to go to the doctor every time there's an accident. It just depends on the health history of the person and the age of the person.
Okay. All right. And then, okay. So are there any differences between a single car accident and an accident involving more than one car?
Yeah, in a single car accident, for the most part, those accidents are less serious. In other words, let's say that it's raining, you're going through a curve, you slide off the road and you hit a ditch. There can be damage done to your car for sure, but it's not near as serious. More often than not, it's not near as serious as when another car is involved. Two cars in motion, when they collide, that energy exchange between those cars can really be significant. So there's definite differences. Also, if it's a single car accident, more than likely you're not going to be liable for anyone else. Now, if you run over a mailbox, you would be liable for that property owner's mailbox. But that's a very small liability. But all in all, single car accidents are not as serious as multi-car accidents.
Thank you. And then for like the different like property damages and things like that, so does that mean you should make sure to like take photographs at the scene of the accident?
Yeah, we recommend taking a photograph not only of your car but of the other person's car. If the other person is the one at fault, it's a good idea to get a picture of their license plate as well as maybe a picture of their insurance ID card. So pictures are great. We love them.
Okay. Does that mean that dash cams are a good idea as well?
Oh yeah, dash cams are great. Many times we've had police officers to show up at an accident scene and two parties give completely different stories as to what took place, and the police officer will say, I don't know who's at fault. You'll just need to file a claim on your own policy and kind of let the insurance companies battle it out. With that dash cam, those are fantastic. It eliminates that unknown or that ambiguity, right? And an officer will be able to see with his own eyes when you pull it up on your app, oh, this is what happened. So, yeah, they're great and we recommend them. And as more time goes by in cars in the future, they're going to come with them automatically. But we love when people have them. They're great.
So like if I was at the scene of the accident then, like not involved in it, but I was like in like another car or I was like walking down the road or something, and so would it be a good idea for me to stay at the accident scene and like give testimony just in case there wasn't a dash cam?
Yeah, for sure. We love third-party testimonies, right? In other words, kind of going back to your example, there's an accident at an intersection, and let's say you're walking your dog. You're an unbiased third party. You don't know anybody in any of the cars. And so the police know, oh, she's going to tell the truth as to what happened. She's not going to favor one driver over another. And so those independent third-party eyewitnesses, their testimony is like very, very big. And so many times it happens every day all over the United States, probably hundreds of times a day, where people will witness accidents and they leave the scene. And we really don't recommend that. It's almost a little bit like a civic duty, kind of like jury duty, of hanging around the scene and helping out and telling the police officer, hey, this is really what took place. So we love it when it happens.
And then should you avoid social media after being involved in an accident?
Yeah, let's say that you're hit by another party. You would never want to get on social media right away and say, oh, the other person that hit me is such a dirtbag. They didn't even care. And that might be true. Every bit of that might be true. But you don't want to get on social media and say that. Whether you've been hit or if you hit another party, right? And so now, let's say once the claim is settled and it's all behind you, and if a cop writes a ticket and you got to go to court and all that's over with, once it's all behind you and then you want to get on social media and kind of share what happened, no problem. But just give it a little time before you jump on and start just telling the world, something that's happened to you. Yeah.
All right. And then I believe this is my last question. So what should you do if the person who's at fault for the accident is an uninsured motorist?
Yeah, if the person is an uninsured motorist, well, number one, you want to call the police. Number two, if they are uninsured motorists, they are bad about leaving the accident scene. They might come and check on you and see that you're okay. Let's say they rear-ended you, and you don't know they're uninsured motorists, and they say, oh, hold on a minute, I'm going to go back to my car, and they get in their car and they leave the scene. Happens all the time. When it comes to automobile accidents, you have what are called uninsured motorists and underinsured motorists. And I'll give you an example of an underinsured motorist. We had a gentleman back in December 2022 living over in the Smyrna Vinings area near Cumberland Mall. He was waiting to make a left-hand turn and was waiting on the green arrow to give him permission to make that turn. And another car came along and hit him in the rear. Well, of course, he put his car in park, got out to inspect the damage. Unfortunately, another car came along and hit the car that hit him. The worst part, he was standing in between the cars when that happened, and he lost both of his legs from the knees down, had to amputate below each knee. So what ended up happening, the person that first hit him paid $50,000 for his bodily injury, even though when they initially hit him, he wasn't hurt. Right? When they initially hit him, he wasn't hurt. But when he got out of the car to check, and another car came along and hit him, had that first accident not taken place, he wouldn't have been out of his car to inspect the damage. So the car that hit him ended up paying $50,000. That was their limit on their policy. The other party had $250,000. They ended up paying him $250,000. So it was a total payment to him of $300,000. On his policy here with us, he had uninsured motorist coverage, and at that $300,000 that he received, those parties were really underinsured, and so he filed a underinsured motorist claim on his policy here with us and collected another $100,000. So his total payout was $400,000. Sounds like a lot of money, but considering the fact that he lost both of his legs, it wasn't nearly enough. So a lot of all insurance companies sell uninsured motorist coverage. Now, a lot of agencies allow their clients to pick and choose whether or not they carry the coverage. We don't do that. We insist that they carry the uninsured motorist coverage. Uninsured and underinsured, it comes all together. It's the same. And the reason why we do that is when something serious happens, like what happened with this guy, we want to kind of be their hero and not be the goat, right? And so, nonetheless, all companies, to my knowledge, offer uninsured motorist coverage, and we insist that they carry it. Now, they can carry the minimum limit, which is $25,000, or they can carry $50,000, or $100,000, or $250,000, $250,000, or $500,000. Most of our clients carry $100,000 in uninsured motorist coverage. So it's important. Not all agencies make people carry it, but again, we want to protect our clients. That's why we do.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for your time.
Of course. Thank you. I appreciate it. All right.